Shenandoah National Park is an absolute must visit if you're anywhere near the Mid-Atlantic in the United States. The park has more waterfalls than you can count, hikes than you can hike, but it's most known for Skyline Drive, which is the road that runs right down the ridge of the Blue Ridge Mountains from the south side of the park near Waynesboro, Virginia, to the north side of the park near Front Royal. The thing about Skyline Drive is it has 64 places where you can pull over and just take in the view. That's not to mention all the campgrounds, hiking, and other features that are along the over 100-mile journey Skyline Drive makes through the mountains. If you're someone who's trying to catch an amazing sunrise or sunset in the park, whether it's for photography or just to take it in, the park is so big it can be overwhelming trying to figure out where's the best place to go. I've caught myself several times just driving the park from overlook to overlook to overlook near sunrise or sunset and just scrambling to find the best location possible. So what I wanted to do is go to each overlook and rate the scene's ability to have a great sunrise or sunset. See, some of the overlooks, they're just not as good as others, and there can be quite a bit of distance between overlooks. I used the app PhotoPills to figure out exactly where the sun was going to rise and where it was going to set in each scene, and I point that out so that you can kind of get an idea of where the sun's going to be in the best part of the scene. That's what I wanted to make this video for, so that anyone trying to catch some amazing light in Shenandoah National Park doesn't have to scramble. They can pick their scene and just go and get it. Our journey through Shenandoah National Park starts at the southern entrance at Rockfish Gap and goes north. The very first overlook you come to is McCormick Gap Overlook at 2,434 feet above sea level. It's a western facing overlook, which simply means it's on the left side of the road. The sunrise is on the hard right of the scene, while the sunset is on the hard left of the scene. This is one of the many scenes in Shenandoah where you can get both sunrise and sunset color. I'm going to rate this scene at about a 6 because the sun is on the hard edges of the scene. However, the meadowland and the farmland that you see below is very pretty, and if you can get some light bouncing off of it, it'd be really, really beautiful. Our next stop is Turk Gap Overlook, standing at 2,700 feet above sea level and a western facing overlook. This is the 6th overall overlook from the south. That's not to say that overlooks 2, 3, 4, and 5 aren't any good. It's just that they don't really present a whole lot of sunrise or sunset potential. But Turk Gap does, and it's an absolutely beautiful overlook with countryside in the background. There's a bit of a mountain on the left side of the scene with a bit of a ridge on the right side of the scene. Overall, this is a absolutely beautiful panoramic scene. Turk Gap is going to have the best chances of really showing a wonderful sunset scene, and I'm going to rate the potential for a really wonderful sunset at about a 9. Our next overlook is the very next overlook, the 7th overall overlook, and it's Crimora Lake Overlook. Stands 2,975 feet above sea level. It's a western facing overlook, and it's absolutely beautiful. They're actively trimming all of the underbrush to make sure that we can keep the beautiful background of farms, fields, and mountains very clear. This is a sunset location, and I'm going to say the potential here for some wonderful light to come across the meadowland is about a 9. Our next stop is Moormans River Overlook. It's the very next overlook, the number 8th overall. It's 2,975 feet above sea level. However, this is a eastern facing overlook. It's an absolutely amazing location for sunrise photos. It has a large pond directly down below. There's no blocking of any of the underbrush or trees. It's a beautiful landscape that kind of follows the valley of two mountains coming together right where the sun rises. We're going to give this overlook a 9 when it comes to the overall potential of a beautiful sunrise. Our next stop is the 9th overall overlook from the south. It's Riprap Overlook. It's 2,920 feet above sea level, and it's a western facing overlook. It's a sunset location with the sun setting on the left part of the scene. We have some mountains and trees to the left, but there's this panoramic view again of some meadowlands, some farmlands, some housing, just a beautiful country scene that if the sun is just right at the right time of year, it can really throw some amazing color on this scene. I'm going to put the potential for an absolutely beautiful sunset at about a 6.5 to 7. Now we're going to skip ahead to our 19th overall overlook, which is Loft Mountain. It's 2,450 feet above sea level, and it's an eastern facing overlook. So we're looking for a sunrise on this one, and there's some absolutely beautiful farmland down below that's separated by mountains. Now the angle of the sun is going to matter a lot here to get it to come through those peaks of the mountains and really light up that farmland down below, but it's definitely possible, and if you catch it at the right time, it'll definitely be worth it. I'm going to put the potential for a wonderful sunrise here at 7.5. Our next stop is our 26th overall overlook from the south, Hensley Hollow. It's 2,560 feet above sea level. It's a western facing overlook, so we're looking for a beautiful sunset. It's a pretty nice scene with lots of forest valley land. There's some close mountains to the right side and in the background, but there's a really narrow scene of some beautiful meadowlands down below that could really catch some beautiful light if you get it at just the right angle and just the right time. I'm going to put the potential for a absolutely beautiful sunset here at about an 8. Our next stop is the South River Overlook. It's the 27th overall overlook from the south. It's 2,950 feet above sea level. It's a very narrow scene where the mountains are on the left and on the right, and they kind of come down into a valley right in front of you, right in the middle. The sun rises directly in front of you in that valley and creates an absolutely beautiful scene. However, this is a little bit tricky to capture because the background is so far away. I'm going to put the potential of a really wonderful sunrise photo here at about a 7.5. Our next scene is the 30th overall overlook from the south. It's the Point. It's 3,235 feet above sea level and a western facing overlook. This is a really pretty scene with some rolling hills and mountains. It's a sunset scene where the sun sets on the hard left part of this scene. However, those Blue Ridge Mountains in the background are absolutely beautiful and can catch some wonderful color. There's a couple ugly trees right in the middle of this scene which kind of splits it. However, I still give this scene the potential of an 8.5 for a beautiful sunset. Our next stop is the 31st overlook in Shenandoah National Park, and it's called Hazeltop View Overlook. It's 3,825 feet above sea level. It's a western facing overlook. It's a really wide overlook, and it's a wide overlook that has some really pretty rolling mountains and hills in the background, and the sun is going to set just to the left of center, and it's going to hit these peaks and these rolling hills in a really amazing way when the sun is just right. I'm going to set the sunset potential at about a 9, and depending on the conditions when you're here, this could easily be a 10. That concludes the 33 southern overlooks that are south of Big Meadows. Now it's time to look at the northern overlooks, and we start off with Franklin Cliffs at 3,140 feet above sea level. It's a western facing overlooks, and it's one of the best overlooks on the entire northern section of Skyline Drive. It's absolutely beautiful, and when the sun hits it just right, it can squeeze through the mountaintops and hit the meadow and farmland down below and create an absolutely perfect scene. But due to the mountaintops on the left, it can be a little bit tricky as far as timing. I'm going to put the capabilities of a beautiful sunset here at about an 8.5. Moving on from the 35th overlook from the South Franklin Cliffs to 39, which is Timber Hollow. Timber Hollow stands 3,360 feet above sea level. It's a western facing overlook, and it's a really awesome scene. One of my favorites on the entire drive. The waves of mountains and ridges in the background as they kind of direct the light. If you catch it just right, oh man, this can be one beautiful valley if you get it at just the right conditions. I'm going to set the potential for an absolutely phenomenal sunset here at a 9. Everything from the meadow and farmland below to the rolling hills in the background make for a absolutely phenomenal scene. The 42nd overlook from the south is Stony Overlook, 3,100 feet above sea level, a western facing overlook. And my goodness, this is another really beautiful overlook. The sun sets on the left part of this scene, but if you catch it right before it dives below the ridge in the background, you can get some absolutely amazing color on the meadowlands and the farming area down below. The one downside to this location is the ridge in the background, and if you don't get it at just the right light, at just the right conditions, that ridge will block out some of the color. I'm going to set the potential for an amazing sunset at a 7.5 to 8. The 45th overlook from the south is Hazel Mountain Overlook at 2,770 feet above sea level. It's an eastern facing overlook, and it's one of the most popular on Skyline Drive for sunrises. It has a beautiful rock outcropping that people like to climb and get pictures with. The sky can absolutely be set on fire here, and I love going here to get great pictures and take in a beautiful sunrise. However, this overlook is a very popular overlook, and so you'll most likely have to deal with some other people. The potential for a great sunrise here is a 9.5. Now the very next overlook, which is the 46th overlook, is Buck Hollow Overlook. It's 2545 above sea level, and it's another eastern facing overlook. Personally, I think this overlook is a little better than Hazel Mountain, the previous overlook, because it doesn't have the crowds. It doesn't have that popular rock outcropping that everybody wants a selfie photo with. It has pretty much the same scene as Hazel Mountain Overlook because it's right down the street, but it doesn't have all the people. And so this valley scene that you get where the sun can just fire off directly in front of you can produce a really, really pretty sunrise. The possibility of a fiery sunrise is a 9. Beautiful scene. The very next overlook is number 47 from the south. It's Pass Mountain Overlook, 2,460 feet above sea level. This is an okay overlook. It would make for a great sunset since it's a western facing overlook, but the conditions would have to be perfect. It's somewhat of a narrow scene with the foreground not being all that special, but you do have a nice farm valley in the background with a ridge running just behind it. But if you get it at just the right time with just the right conditions, I'm going to put the potential for a really great sunset here at a 7.5. Our next stop is the 50th overlook from the south. It's Rattlesnake Point Overlook, 3,105 feet above sea level. It's an eastern overlook with a pretty nice view. There's a lot of forest and not so special scenery in the foreground. However, in the background, there are a lot of rolling hills mixed with some valley and farmland that make for a really pretty scene. However, if you're taking a picture of this, you're probably going to need a telephoto lens. That's pretty significant. But either way, a sunrise can produce some really great color here. The potential for some great color is about a 9. The 52nd overlook from the southern entrance is Little Devil Stairs Overlook at 3,120 above sea level. It's an eastern facing overlook, and it's a fairly wide scene. Now, unfortunately, like several overlooks on Skyline Drive, there is a couple of dead trees that kind of split this scene. Now in the background, you have some rolling hills and mountains and a little bit of meadowland, but mainly rolling hills and mountains. And the best part of it is right where the sun comes up, and that makes for some wonderful color on the hilltops and across this landscape. Picking a subject can be a little bit tricky here because there's not a whole lot to focus on except some of these dead trees, and nobody really wants dead trees in their photos unless that's the style photography they're going after. But nobody wants to take a selfie in front of a dead tree or capture a beautiful sunrise with a dead tree in it. However, excluding the dead tree, I think the chances of great color here are about an 8. Our 54th overlook from the southern entrance of Shenandoah National Park is the Mount Marshall Overlook, 2,850 feet above sea level. This is a pretty nice scene. It's a western facing scene, so we're looking for sunsets here. There's a little bit of grasslands kind of in the center, and fortunately that's exactly where the sun will set. So that makes for some really great chances of some color popping off in the sky and kind of lighting up the landscape. However, it does put all the mountains and the hills in front of the sun, so capturing a photo of this is going to require a camera that's great with dynamic range. Cell phones are going to struggle with this. However, with the rolling hills and with where the sun is going to set, I think there's a lot of potential here for some great color during a sunset. I'm going to rate it about a 9. Our next stop is the 58th stop from the southern entrance of Shenandoah National Park, and it's Hog Wallow Flats, 2,665 feet above sea level. It's an eastern facing outlook, so we're looking for a sunrise. Beautiful rolling meadowland down below. There's little to no distractions from dead trees. There's just a few little humps, farmland, and the sun can absolutely hit this landscape perfectly because it's going to come up directly dead center of the scene. If I want to get a great shot and I don't want people around, this is the place I would choose when it comes to sunrise. Rate the potential of great light here a 9.5. Our last overlook is Overlook 59, and that's out of a total of 64. The overlook is Jenkins Gap Overlook, 2,355 feet above sea level. It's an eastern facing overlook. It's a narrow scene with mountains on the left. On the right, however, there's a small pond right dead center of the scene where two mountains kind of create a valley right with it. In the background, it's farmland and rolling hills, but the sun rises directly 12 o'clock on that scene, and this would make for a really pretty scene with a decent telephoto lens. However, if you're shooting it wide or with a cell phone, it's not going to be the best photo. The chance of getting great color here is about a 9. And that's our tour of what I consider to be the best spots in Shenandoah National Park for sunrise and sunset. I hope this video is able to help you plan your next trip in Shenandoah so you don't have to scramble from overlook to overlook trying to figure out which one is the best. With this guide, I think you can spend more energy on getting the most out of whatever spot you decide, and maybe try all of them on this list. You hit one this time, and then next time you'll hit another, but you get to spend more time and have more patience for the scene. If you just enjoyed the tour of Shenandoah National Park, I have a couple other videos on my channel that dive into each and every overlook, not just the ones that are optimal for sunrise and sunset. I hope you guys have an awesome week. I can't wait to see you on the next video.